everyone, and welcome back to another super cool radio interview. I'm your host, as always, Matthew Thomas. Thank you so much for tuning in. I have a great guest joining me at this time who I'm excited to have on the podcast. On March 28th, American power metal band Judicator released their latest album entitled Concord. Please welcome John, the vocalist for Judicator.
Hello, everybody. Good to see you.
Well, John, thank you so much for hanging out with me. If anyone had any doubt that you're the vocalist, I think that that's very decisive right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, no, obviously we have so much to discuss with Judicator right now. You guys have been very busy, have a lot of awesome things in the works. So I kind of want to talk about, obviously, the latest single that you guys released on March 7th, which is Miracle of Life. For anyone who has not heard the single yet, what can they expect?
Well, so we are continuing sort of in the path we established with our first single, Concord. This is aggressive, heavy, but similar to Concord, there was a little bit of garlic in the coffee, so to speak, something that's a little bit unexpected and fun and weird. We take that and turn it up to 11 with A Miracle of Life. So, we brought Nikki Rowe back to smash a saxophone. So with Concord, it's funny, we actually brought her out just to do the guest vocals in Concord. And we were filming all of these music videos and all of this stuff over the same weekend. And I had the thought, man, she came all the way out here just to do one music video. Can we do anything else with her? And we have a saxophone solo in A Miracle of Life. And I thought, why not just have her do what we did in the High Priestess music video with the keyboards? Let's smash a saxophone. Nikki, do you want to do it? And she's like, well, I don't play saxophone. I said, nobody cares. Like, just do it. And, just act well. Nobody cares. Nobody's going to notice. Nobody's going to be examining your fingering and being like, she's not really playing right. So we brought her out and we had a blast. She knocked it out of the park, smashed the hell out of the saxophone. And, we just had a really good time with that whole process. And funny enough, one last little tidbit about the song A Miracle of Life, that saxophone section, that weird breakdown section, was inspired by the YouTube hit group Clowncore. So sometimes when you are writing a song and you have an idea and it doesn't seem right, but it feels right, my philosophy is just pursue it, and whatever happens, happens. And this is one of those cases. But the last thing I'll say is, while A Miracle of Life has that fun, hard left turn, that's about as crazy as it gets on the album. So, if that's concerning to you as a listener, it's one song that's a little bit weird. The rest of the album, I think, is rather pleasant, a little bit more straightforward, like we've been saying in other interviews and stuff. So I think everybody is going to find something that they like about the album.
Oh, for sure. Well, a few things I did want to touch on. So, I'm curious, obviously, filming the music video. So, how'd you get a saxophone? Did you just go to, the local, pawn shop and get a saxophone? So, how did that come about?
Yeah, we went on to secondhand app, KSL Classifieds. It's something that I think is only here in Utah. I could be wrong, but I got it secondhand from somebody who didn't speak English. I had to use the translator on my phone. And I got a good saxophone for $100, which makes me feel good because the saxophone was going to be discarded anyway. And so we've immortalized it in film. And we also, at the very end of A Miracle of Life, smash a guitar. So similar back to the High Priestess music video that I mentioned, where we smashed a keyboard, we had the thought, what's better than smashing one instrument? Let's smash two. So my brother-in-law won a guitar, and he doesn't play guitar. And he's like, do you want this? I said, sure, I guess. So I've held on to that guitar for like a year or two. And finally, I thought this is the opportunity to finally do something with it. It wasn't a really good guitar. It was honestly like a junky $100 Walmart guitar. But this is about the coolest thing that you could do with a guitar like that.
Oh no, for sure. Well, great, use of resources, especially. You knew the guitar would come in handy at some point. You just didn't know for what.
Absolutely had to at some point.
That's really cool, and I like kind of the behind the scenes of filming the music video for it as well. So I will also leave a link for that in the description of this podcast, where everyone can check it out. But I did also want to talk about the new album for you guys, the upcoming album. As I said, it will be released on March 28th. That is Concord. So before we start talking about the album, I've had the opportunity to check out some of the artwork, and it looks amazing. So I'm curious, how did that artwork come about?
So first off, I really wanted to work with somebody who's done other album artwork for us before. His name is Mark Wisnant, and I think he knocked it out of the park with this one. I'm very happy with it. It's like red Laffy Taffy. It just makes me feel good, and it feels refreshing. And what I could say about that is, so we have a song on the album called Blood Meridian. It's about the Cormac McCarthy book called Blood Meridian. And there is a version of that book, or I should say like the cover of the book. There's a particular cover for Blood Meridian out there that really inspired me for the cover of Concord. So it's all, of course, very red. What do they call it? Monochromatic or whatever. So everything is reddish. And there's that skull in the background. And the guy in the foreground on the cover looks conspicuously like the judge from Blood Meridian. So there's a lot of Blood Meridian imagery and stuff in there. So yeah, I would say it's heavily inspired by Blood Meridian, but it also captures that general Wild West, American West imagery that we try to portray throughout the album.
Oh no, for sure. I love the color choice on the album, because it's just such, obviously, everyone sees the color red, but this one just has a little bit of a different just uniqueness to it. It is red, but there's some different shading or something. It's not quite like the normal red, my hat or something you would see. It's got just a little bit of that pop in it to make it look it really stands out.
Yeah, like I said, I feel like this album cover is like red Laffy Taffy, which is nice and refreshing to me. I think I used that word before, refreshing, because The Majesty of Decay, our last album, which I love, it's an amazing album, it's more subdued in its visual presentation, which I think works. But all that being said, after going that route, I kind of wanted to go big and a little more poppy with this one.
Oh, for sure. I think it looks amazing. And it kind of just matches kind of some of the themes of the album as well. But I've also noticed that with other previous albums, that the album cover really matches with the themes in the album itself as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, you'll notice that with our first two albums, especially Sleepy Plesso. Close your eyes and throw a dart at the dartboard, and you'll see all of them, I think, match rather well.
Oh, definitely. But now I did want to talk about the music side, obviously, because this is a music podcast. So let's talk about the music side. So how was it writing and recording this album?
This was again, refreshing album production cycle, I would say, because with The Majesty of Decay, everything was like, oh shit, go, 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 go. A lot of the music was written beforehand, but then we needed, anyway, long story short, we had a much more hectic cycle. With Concord, we had exited our deal with Prosthetic Records. And so there was a question, are we going to release this independently or through another record label? That's a whole other thing. But to the point of your question, we really thought, okay, we're no longer in a 2 years album. We can take our time a little bit. And it's funny because this album ends up coming out 2 or 3 years later anyway, so we would have made the window even if we had. But I think it's very mental, that sense of relief when you're no longer bound to a time frame that you have to deliver the album. So I think it was very refreshing, and we built the album from the ground up. There were no songs that were written beforehand. So yeah, I think Concord is very playful, creative. So the other thing I'll say, comparing it to The Majesty of Decay, The Majesty of Decay was written very much with the idea that we're going to start with some nuggets of ideas and then just follow those, and wherever they go, that's where they go. And so as a result, we ended up with an album that was very progressive, very weird. I saw it described as avant-garde power metal, which I liked. I love that. That makes me feel good. But with Concord, we definitely wanted to take a step back and produce something that was a little bit more easily digestible. And so, sticking to song structures that are a little more traditional. On the one hand, it's not progressive, so does it suck? Well, you just need to focus a lot more on making sure what you have is actually really good. Whereas I feel like it's almost easy when you're writing music that isn't bound to any structural rules to keep things interesting, to keep things fresh. But when you have like intro, hook, intro, verse 1, pre-chorus, chorus, riff, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, solo 1, solo 2, bridge, chorus, outro, like that's the standard song structure that you see everywhere. And there's a lot of songs that I love that follow basic song structures. But you notice that everything, it's like when you have less to deal with, what you are dealing with needs to be that much better. And so I think we focused on kind of doing more with less this album cycle. Sorry, that was a bit of a rant, but yeah.
No, I got what you're saying, and I can also see like kind of the differences a little bit. Obviously you guys didn't like switch genres or anything like that. I want to make that clear. But looking at your previous album, as you kind of mentioned, a lot more progressive. You guys, I say this in the nicest way, you guys definitely went into some weird territories.
Yeah.
With the previous album, but then you also look at like the single Concord off this album. A lot more straightforward, I would say. It's definitely more of like, power metal, whatever kind of, however one people classify it, but it's definitely more straightforward, I would say, compared to like previous material.
Yeah. And, kind of like we were talking about with A Miracle of Life, Concord has a little bit of a weird left turn with the beep-beep-bum, beep-beep-bum, the choir part. But then otherwise, it's a fairly normal power metal song. Same thing with A Miracle of Life. It's a pretty straightforward power metal song that gets interrupted by clowncore and then gets bumped back on the track of being a regular power metal song. I would say there are a healthy amount of weird parts sprinkled throughout Concord. But expect a little bit more of a straightforward approach with this album in a good way.
Oh, for sure. But I'm definitely excited to check out the full album when it is released. But I got one more question, then I got to talk about a few other things you guys have in the works as well. So I'm curious. So you kind of mentioned about the previous album having, we got to get this done a little bit more of a frantic pace. But with, this album Concord, did you feel like you could refine the music and the songs a little bit more?
Yeah, in fact, so with the Majesty of Decay, everything was on my shoulders. I wrote all of the music. I wrote all of the lyrics. It was very much a John centered project, I guess you could say. But with Concord, like I said, we kind of took a step back, and I wanted it. I never had it in my mind that Judicator was going to be the John Yelland project. That's just kind of the way that things went with the Majesty of Decay. So with Concord, we thought, okay, we have an opportunity to sort of restructure. Now that we have some time to assess things, let's restructure and really be a bit more methodical about what we want the process to look like, what we want the end product to look like. So yeah, there was a lot more collaboration this time around. We worked with Austin Bentley, somebody I've known for over 10 years. He's my best friend, and he's been sort of an unofficial band member for a long time. We also had Carlos Alvarez of Beholder, Shadow Dance. He mixed and edited the album. He handled some producing duties. Myself, Mike Lofgreen, and Chad Anderson in the band all co-produced it. So while I would say there was a central vision to the album, which is made possible by the fact that I handle all of the lyrics, the concept, everything, there were a lot more creative forces contributing and making sure that our goals were attained.
Well, I think it's really cool, and also just kind of shows, obviously the kind of evolution a little bit of, Judicator itself, but also kind of, I like to hear, it's a nice, collaborative process for you guys. So it's not just all on you to, come up with everything. You get to hear like some a little bit other influences and elements that other people bring as well.
Yeah. And to that end, there's a song on the album called Hold Your Smile, which is not the kind of song I would normally write, but it's great because Chad wrote what is perhaps the most doomy sounding song that Judicator's ever had. And I think that's a really nice, pleasant song. I really enjoy it. Joanna's song, likewise, a song written by myself and Austin Bentley. That's almost like a Devin Townsend kind of rock sound. So there are, I think, some nice, refreshing new elements that have been pumped into this album that I think people will really appreciate.
Oh, I think so. As I said, I'm excited to check it out, to hear kind of the next, chapter for you guys. So I'm curious if anyone is interested in like purchasing the album. Where's the best places they can do that?
You can't go wrong if you Google it. But otherwise, I would say Bandcamp is the place to be. That is our central hub for merch. So check us out.
Very good. I will leave that link in the description as well. But now I did want to talk about, because this is what I've read, and I'm very curious. So I'm for you guys. So you guys have a show coming up in Europe, and it's a special 60-minute set in Denmark. So like can you give us the full details? Like I'm very curious. Like what is this?
Yeah, Epic Fest is a relatively new festival. I think it popped up around 2 or 3 years ago. And it has been very intriguing to follow them from like relatively small festival to like bigger names. More and more people are coming from outside of Denmark year by year. And it's really a neat way to approach festivals in general. There's a strong almost cosplay element. They really encourage the fantasy side of things. So if you're into that kind of thing, it's a blast. They have gaming. It's really like a really interesting, multifaceted event. Yeah, this will be our first performance on European soil, and Denmark. I was expecting, someday, hopefully, God willing, we'll perform in Germany for the first time, or maybe the UK, or maybe Greece or something. But to my understanding, Denmark has not traditionally been like very much of a power metal place. So it's been very, very awesome to see Epic Fest grow in this way. And yeah, we're absolutely stoked. I can't wait to go there and try some fricadella.
All right, so I'm kind of curious. So when does this take place?
This year, it's April 4th and 5th. And in previous years, I think it moves around. Because I think like Wacken is the first weekend of every August. I don't think they have a set date that this occurs every year.
Right on. Well, I hope everything goes well for you guys. So, like, I'm curious. Obviously, anticipating, obviously, a first time performing, outside the U.S. in Denmark. Like, what's kind of the set looking like for this festival?
It's going to be kind of interesting. So, if you care about spoilers, then mute here. So, we're going to start out the set with a lot of new material. So, it's going to be like 3 or 4 songs off Concord, 1 from Majesty of Decay. Then there's going to be a brief little interlude kind of thing. And then we're going to switch over to a lot of the sort of crowd pleaser old material, with the exception of 1 new song that'll be thrown in there. yeah, so I think it's a nice way to structure our set, especially since we're going to be playing for 60 minutes. So, yeah.
Well, awesome. It sounds like it's going to be an incredible set. So I'm curious for you, and then we'll be wrapping up this interview here soon, but do you have a favorite song to perform live?
I will say a favorite song that I'm looking forward to playing live, which we haven't played live yet. There's a song off the new album called Sawtooth, which has a really neat chorus. And during rehearsals, the energy is just great. You know, all of us up front singing the chorus, all of us together. I have a really good feeling that Sawtooth might become a staple in our set lists because it's just, the energy is really, really nice. I like it.
Well, that sounds like it'd be an awesome experience, not only for you guys, but also the crowd as well. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing, how everything goes from that. And hopefully I get to see some videos and photos from that, because it sounds like it's going to be an awesome experience. So now, as we're starting to close out this interview, so obviously we talked about, obviously you have Epic Fest, you got the new album. So that's only like the first, quarter, first half of 2025. So like, what's the rest of the year looking like for you guys?
We've already begun work on, sort of like, what would you call it, ideation for the next album, and we would like to get that out around 2027. But as far as what will come out and what will be done this year, we are working on a re-recording of a song off of Sleepy Plesso that will come out this year. We have 2 cover songs that will come out this year, which are voted on by our Patreon followers, and 1 original single, if not 2, should come out this year, but if they don't, they'll come out early next year. And then we have another not yet announced appearance at a festival in Canada that will be this summer. I need to be a little bit vague with that because it's not announced yet.
Why not? I gotcha. We'll definitely be on the lookout for more announcements when, obviously, you can say. But I'm curious, for everyone watching, where are the best places to find Judicator online?
Wherever you like to lurk on the internet, we probably have a presence there. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, YouTube. Even we started a Blue Sky account. So if social media is your thing, go there. Again, if you want to check out merch, albums, pre-orders for the album are active now, so go to Bandcamp. Pre-save the album on Spotify, you turkeys.
I couldn't say it any better, and I will also, as I said, there'll be links in the description for Judicator. But John, thank you so much for stopping by. I had a fantastic time chatting with you.
Yeah, likewise. This was enjoyable, and we'll do it again someday.
Definitely looking forward to it. For John of Judicator, I'm your host always, Matthew Thomas. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Super Cool Radio. And remember, stay frosty.